Volvos do not put the type of oil or the weight, so you're going to have to see the manual. This right now is going to be 5W30. I'm using full synthetic. So I open the oil cap. This tells me not to start it because there should be no oil in it by the time I lower it back down. I always pull the dipstick. This is where you would check the fluid. I pull it like this. That's another reminder to make sure there's oil put in it. So now I'm just going to raise and support the vehicle and drain the oil. So now that we've raised and supported the vehicle, you need to take your undercarriage splash shield down to access the oil drain plug and the oil filter housing. So on this particular car, it has like 5 bolts. Mine's a 12mm socket. Yours could be different because these bolts are not the factory bolts. Okay. So to remove this oil filter housing, there is an actual oil filter wrench designed for it, and it fits on these little half knobs that they got. And because of the location, it's kind of hard to get anything else up there. You could try like a strap wrench, but this is the tool for it. Then you put the socket on and you turn it to counterclockwise. And make sure you have your catch bucket ready because oil will come out. We'll let this housing drain right in our catch basin. Keep that there for a little bit, let the rest of the oil come out. Right over my bucket, I'm just going to spray some parts cleaner right in there. I just want to make sure it's clear of any sludge. And I'll just take a rag and I'll just go right in that. Don't forget to clean the threads also. Once I put that O-ring on, I don't want to spray any cleaner on it. So while that's dripping, I'm going to take the new O-ring, seat it in that wide opening right there. Hold it on one side, let it ride right around. So now we've drained quite a bit of it, so I take a rag, and I like to take some parts cleaner. I don't spray straight up. I just go around the threading part of it, give it a quick little spray, make sure there's no debris in there. We don't want it to go back into the crankcase. Take a rag, wipe everything down. We got our cartridge, doesn't matter, there's no up or down. Seat it right in that center, and you'll feel it lock right in. Now you can take your oil filter housing, always by hand, just let it seat itself, and it should be that easy threading up until it reaches that seal part. Then it's going to get firm and give a little tightness to the turning of it, which is normal. And this is where we get our wrench back off the old housing. Now I put my oil filter wrench back on, and I just got my ratchet, and I'm just going to bottom it out. As soon as it hits bottom, I'm going to get my torque wrench and I'm going to torque it to the manufacturer's specs. That's bottom right there. I'm going to leave that on there and go get my torque wrench. Okay, so the spec is 25 Newton meters, which comes out to about like 18.4 foot-pounds. See that? That's about as tight as it needs to be. Any tighter, you'll crack that housing or compromise that O-ring. Now we can take our oil filter wrench right off. So now we're going to drain the actual oil from the engine. Here is the drain plug on the oil pan. It's a 17mm. You can use a wrench or a socket. We're just going to go counterclockwise and take that off. Make sure you have your catch basin ready to go. You can see that gasket right here. That's the seal gasket. Make sure it comes off with the drain plug. It doesn't get stuck to the pan. You're going to want to replace that. So here is the drain plug, and this is that gasket I was telling you about. You can see it. This particular design uses a copper gasket, and if you could see up close, you can kind of see how it has these grooves in it, and it's kind of oblong now. It's out of shape. and that's due to that drain plug being torqued down. And here is what a new one looks like. So you can see the difference. So it always helps to ask for new drain plugs, gaskets, when you go get your filter. And we're just going to place that right on. Make sure that it seats properly. It doesn't wobble around. You don't want any extra space flapping around. Now we're down to a minimal here. I do about a 10 to 15 minute drain. I do not do a 2-minute drain. I want this down to be a minimal drip. Start it by hand. And the torque spec on this is 26 foot-pounds. So I'll get a 17mm socket and torque wrench, and we'll torque that down. So now I'm going to torque this with a 17mm socket to 26 foot-pounds. Just get a rag and clean up that residual. Make sure there's no oil anywhere. And now we're ready to put up our undercarriage shield. Now we're putting our plastic shield back up. And like I said, there's like 5 to 6 bolts. This one was missing some, and these are the bolts that I used to replace the factory ones that were missing. And I'll go right to the center. Just going to start them all by hand, so that way we don't cross thread. There we go, 12mm socket on this one. Now we can lower it and add the oil. So now we've lowered the vehicle, oil cap is still off to tell me that I need to add oil, and this car takes 5W30, that's the velocity of it, and it's 5.7 quarts. So we'll just start adding all the quarts. There you go. So now we've loaded the 5.7 quarts in there. I'm going to put my oil cap back on. I'm going to seat my drain plug. I'm going to start the car. I'm going to run it for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'm going to make sure the oil light goes out. Everything's good. Shut it down. I'm going to let it sit for about 10, 15 minutes. Then I'm going to come out and check my oil. So the car's been sitting for 10 minutes. All the oil should be down in the pan, and we can take an accurate reading. So I'm going to take my dipstick out, and I'm going to just wipe it clean. Let me show you what we're looking for. We want that oil, see those crosses? We want the oil to be closer to the top. It can be right at the top or right in the middle. You don't want it below. This equals 1 quart adding. And never check your oil with the engine hot. It's always going to be on the low side because the oil will be in the top half of the engine and not fully drained. So check it, best time to check it after it's been sitting for several hours, and you'll get the most accurate reading. So pull it out, get it dry, reapply it. Now we pull her out, and you can check the proper level. It's so clean you can hardly see that. Maybe if I turn it a little bit, we're right here at 3/4 up full. So right there, 5.7 quarts, and it is right where it should be, right here. Now we're just going to replace, make sure it seats all the way down, and ready to go. When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.